position. Game number 2, he tried some sort of mind game. It didn't work out. And now we're over here in Cloud Kingdom. It's really unfortunate, I think, that Mana is starting off 0-2 in this series, because I feel like if he just played this series out a little bit differently, I feel like he might have gotten tilted from game number 1 and then game number 2 happened. I don't know. A lot of it just... I'm not going to say it didn't make sense, because it actually did make a lot of sense, but it just didn't feel stable, safe, the Mana that I know and love.
You just love everyone.
I can't marry him, Frodan. I'm already married to Todd.
Well, you can see him on the side.
I don't do that. I'm not that type of guy, Frodan.
You don't believe in polygamy?
I don't do that.
Can you love? I remember one time this girl approached me. She's like, "Can you love 2 people at the same time?" I said, "No." And she's like, "Okay." Now, thankfully, she wasn't my girlfriend at the time. She was just my friend.
Okay, good.
She was just my friend. Who couldn't decide between 2 guys that that I knew, but I was still firm with her. I said no.
Good, Frodan.
Yeah. Now the funny thing is that she got neither in the end. I was very happy about that. Not because I don't like her, but because I really don't like the love triangle stuff, and we were all on the same debate team, so it was like. I just needed the drama to go away.
I don't understand the triangle, because like it's more of a just 2 lines pointing in the same direction, but there's no.
It's a triangle because there's the 2 guys connected to the girl, right? So that's like a little angle, like a less than 90-degree angle. And then there's the strife between the 2 guys to fight over the competition. That's how they're related.
The strife is the hypotenuse, let's say, in this situation.
Oh gosh. No, I would say. Yeah, I don't know.
Do you know how to prove a squared plus b squared equals c squared? I can prove that to you.
Isn't that like some really complicated linear algebra?
You can do it geometrically. It's a lot easier to actually prove that way.
I can prove it by putting in numbers and saying C.
Do you know how nerdy I am, Frodan? I was actually recently... Okay, I probably should.
This is only for right triangles, though, right?
No, it's for all triangles.
Really?
I was actually at bingo night long story. Okay,
Is that
I was
true?
at bingo night.
I thought only for right triangles.
No, man, a squared plus b squared equals c squared.
No, you're trolling me, bro. You're doing the Sheth thing, where Sheth told me like one build that was doing, and it was completely wrong.
Anyway, Frodan, I was at a bingo night.
Whoa, sounds hot.
With my girlfriend. It's true. It's true.
If she can stick with you throughout that, Andre, she's a keeper.
We were at bingo night together, and they had like that cardboard paper that you can sort of like draw on. You know those kind of fancier
like
places.
Sheets?
Yeah, fancier places that like the restaurants.
Like the coloring thing on like a placemat that can be a coloring thing.
Yeah. Well, I for some reason had the impulse to actually derive the quadratic formula, and I did that on the piece of cardboard paper while I was playing bingo.
Why are you telling me this, Andre?
I probably shouldn't have, should I?
No, I'm just I'm wondering, like, were you trying to tie that into the game?
I was trying to tie that into the a squared plus b squared equals c squared, bro.
Okay. The quadratic formula is a squared. I'm
no,
confused,
the quadratic
man.
is opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over.
You know what, Andre? I'm just gonna say
it's
okay.
Solving a quadratic. A quadratic is some sort of formula with the power of 2 in the variable, like x squared plus 4.
Right.
X squared plus 4x plus 4.
Yes.
Something like that.
Yes.
So the formula to find x. Never mind.
Okay.
We're on a different math level right now. We need
you know
to
what?
progress it.
I stopped at Calc 3, man, for reference, and I didn't.
Okay.
I didn't
You
excel
learned this quadratic formula in
algebra. In algebra 2.
No,
right.
just algebra.
Well, no.
No, algebra. Algebra.
Algebra 2.
Algebra
is when you really
1, bro.
use it.
I learned
Algebra
this
1 is when you learn it, but algebra
Nope.
2 is when you use it.
8th grade, bro.
Well, Andre,
and if you're
not
in,
everyone's
if you're in
as
Asian
smart
countries,
as
it's
you.
probably like 2nd grade.
Andre, not everyone is as intelligent
No,
and sophisticated.
Frodan, stop it. You were a math major.
I know.
Don't go against your roots, Frodan. Don't try to be something you're not.
Well, that's why I'm not a math teacher. That's why I became a caster. The only math that you guys have to worry about is that Mana is down 0-2. And he needs he only has one more game he can lose. Yeah. Sortof is one more game away from reaching the round of 16.
And guys, if you didn't know, 2 is 2 more than 0. So that means he has 2
Thank you,
games
Andre. I think I can do that math.
Just clarifying, man. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, 2 minus 0 is 2.
Mana has a Blink Stalker. Oh, sorry, he has a Twilight Council, so he can get Blink Stalkers out really quick. He's not going for a quick Immortal, though. He could use that. He could use that Twilight Council for also a quick +2, which coincidentally enough is 2 numbers after 0, as Andre said. And Mana's going the same build as he did in game number 2, going for a 5-gate Robo opening after going for an Observer. So is he going to just expand again and try to play it safe while getting a Sentry Zone?
You want the Twilight Council again. That's important to note. Not yet upgraded Blink, but he is getting his +2. So this could be just going into third base again. This is like the super standard way to actually get your third base while having some sort of timing with your upgrades. You can do a +2 or a +3 timing attack. I'm just not a big fan of it, Frodan. It's like too mind gamey, you know? If your opponent doesn't actually fall victim to the mind game, which a lot of Zergs just like to drone and get a ton of units.
You sabotage yourself?
Yeah, you are sabotaging yourself. And what do we have? 3 gases up. Now 3 gases give you just enough gas to really max out in Roaches and Zerglings. That's why we're 9.5 minutes in. Sortof is going to be comprehensive, defend against the Immortal Sentry all-in. That's why we see Zerglings and Roaches out in the field, because he's preparing in case there is some sort of huge all-in. Of course, he verifies with the Overseer, none of which are possible from mana. So he says to himself, okay, take my 4th base, which he's doing, get all of my gases, 4, 5, 6, and then just tech up to Infestors. It's a very comprehensive way to play out this matchup.
Yep, Sortof going to get up his Infestor tech as well as Double Eagle Chamber upgrades very nicely. It's actually, some people always wonder why do some Protosses go for double forward, but mostly everyone goes for single forward, just because armor upgrades aren't that useful against Roaches.
Yeah.
A +2 Roach will kill a +3 armor Stalker as many times as it will kill a +0 armor Stalker. So armor upgrades aren't as critical. If you see Infestor Ling, that's nice.
Yes,
but
it definitely helps out with Infested Terrans and the Zerglings.
It's not as big as a priority, though.
That's correct, because when you're going into the mid game, is it really only mass Zerglings that you're up against? Most of the time, no. Roaches are in there, so there's no use at actually trying to get that plus whatever armor.
Now Mana does end up doing the same thing as he did last game, getting up the 3rd base. I just feel like he can't. Oh, is he really going to push out here? Oh my, this is such an interesting time to move out. This is even different from game number 2, Andre, where he was moving out at 13 minutes.
This is crazy, but he is circumventing everything. I mean, you can see the scouting for Sortof. He's only covering this 4th base. So you can tell right away, just by how he's approaching this, how he's moving his units around the map. This is a very mind game oriented build. You're banking on your opponent not really expecting this type of pressure. And off of this, he's just going to back up. Of course. Why didn't I think of that before, Frodan? Oh, wait. I have no clue what's going on.
No, this is kind of like the funny thing, too, because Mana does have like that ability to push at the 13-minute mark. That's what I thought he was going for. It's so interesting because now he's starting to change the direction. He's going Stargate as well as Robotics Bay. I don't know what if he wants to go for the Mothership. 3 base, you're stretching your gas considerably, and you're being really passive. You're saying, I'm not going to attack for 2 minutes at least, and even then the Mothership comes out. I need 100. Well, I don't know how many seconds it is in game, but I need enough time for 100 energy to rack up. So that means essentially for the next 3-4 minutes, Mana really can't push unless he wants to go sort of against his own timing. And hit Zerg when it's weakest.
I think it's,
for Hive.
Just to let you know, I think it's 150%, excuse me, 1.5 times the time is your mana.
So, wait, so energy goes slower than time?
Correct.
Oh,
So
you mean in-game seconds?
Yeah, in-game seconds. So
Oh,
in-game
not real
seconds, if it's like 1 in-game second, it's 2/3 of mana that you gain.
Okay. So, from here...
So take the reciprocal, multiply it by the amount of mana you need.
Invert it, and then cotangent the derivative.
150, right? You need 150 mana for 200 total. So you multiply that by 3/2.
All right, I drew the giant S. Now what, Andre? now what?
Bro, Dan! Come on, man.
One thing I would like Mana to do is wall off between the natural and the third base, off that ramp by the rocks, destructible rocks. A lot of Protest players like doing that, especially when they move out to their fourth base. You really do stretch yourself thin. At least putting one cannon there or something, just so you can stall for some time, warp into Sentry or whatnot. But now Sortof is starting to go on the offensive. Hive Tech will finish. Mana playing this very passive. Of course, Mana has great late game army control. Not going to use any force fields at all. Only blinking in one stalker because he's not sure where the investors are.
Oh no! Again, just like the Metropolis game.
All the sentries. The Zergling's flanking also. Oh no! There's so much energy being forced out, and Mana getting a little bit too curious. And curiosity killed the sentry.
Unless you're curious.
Who you just lost to Sen.
Okay, you're right. Dang it.
Sen beat Curious, right, in round 16. And that punch is taken to the round of 8. But let's find out what happens here. Sortof pushing in with a lot of infested Terrans. Now, Mana does have one Colossus, but
this is the worst position to actually be attacking into if you're Zerg. But this is how big of an advantage Sortof knows
he's just
has.
focusing down the Nexus.
He doesn't care, Frodan. He has such a big advantage. He has the fourth base. The fifth base is already finished. He's still encircling Roach at this point. He knows all of this is expendable. Why? Because Greater Spire is coming out. He has a couple of Spine Crawlers, but he has space, positioning, creep spread, Infestor tech. A lot of Infestors on the field. His opponent doesn't have anything, really. Mothership just coming up now. And he has nothing to really support it. How can he get Archons from here when he's struggling just to get his Colossus count up? It's such a difficult thing to tech up to Mothership off of 3 bases. It's just not very standard. You can't. 3 bases gives you the bare minimum to mount like 3 base very powerful attacks. It doesn't give you the ability to get the best composition and the Mothership tech. It's just so hard to do that and get your upgrades and get the right composition.
You have to cut major corners.
Yeah, like ridiculous corners. You need 6-minute 3 base and 6 gases that whole time. If
you won't
want
make
to
that many units. You'll just tech. Even then, you're playing with fire. So, let alone trying to win the game.
Yeah.
Sort of now getting up his Broodler count significantly. He's got 8. He's going to make a few more. Getting up his upgrades. Everything looks really good. Mana will be able to fight one more time at least, maybe twice, but it's...
Frodan, right now the position stands at Mana could Vortex this whole army, put in 5 Archons, Sortof loses it all, and is still ahead. That's how far ahead he is in this game, and it's because of how fast he's gotten his 4th, how long he's had his 4th up.
I don't know, man. It's never say never. Those kinds of scenarios, if you lose too much, Protoss can go base hunting.
Lowly versus Mana on Daybreak.
Well, okay, that was the opposite of the example I was giving. But yes, anything can happen because the Mothership is out to the field, especially with an Infestor that can fungal and narrow parasite the Mothership and reverse Vortex.
Yes. A little counterattack going into the natural over here, of course. As you were saying, not having those gateways over there actually affects him quite substantially. Oh no, +2.
+2 armor.
Doesn't really matter.
Doesn't really matter, just like you said, Andre, but sort of able to breach the natural. Now pressuring the 4th base. Mana might lose 2 bases.
Could lose 3 bases. His 3rd base is next. Now you can see High Templars are being warped in here. And 1 Archon is being warped in as well.
Oh, man. This is Mana's tournament life on the line. Mana vortexes his own units and says, GG. Mana taps out, Sortof goes 3-0. What a journey to the NASL playoffs. Sortof overcoming Koreans to get to... He beat Symbol in the Open. Now he gets here to the Wildcards, but he beats Mana, the DreamHack champion, ESWC champion. Now he's going to the round of 16 where he could face off against anybody. He could face off against Puma or off of Puma or Young. Depends on how the seeds actually play out. Some of the best players, but this guy is playing
stunning play
at an awesome level.
Let's be honest, stunning play from sort of nothing out of the ordinary, nothing like super innovative, but that's something that's so hard to make your name. When you go absolutely standard, similar to like Stefano, how do you actually make big name? You just have results. Nothing else. You don't do anything fancy. Yes, there's the Stefano style build, but that's old and done with. He's still very successful. Sort of made his name by just being standard. The same way Hasuabs, Mana, all these standard players do it. You just have to be a good player, and that's what sort of just proved.
Yep. That pretty much summarizes everything. Clutch, any wrapping thoughts to conclude, to bookend the series?
Well, I agree with everything that you guys said. Also, the map control that Sortof had, especially when he entered that engagement. Now, Cloud Kingdom, you have those 2-3 ramps in the center, right? And he split his forces and got the surround on Mana's forces. And from there, Mana went back into his base and sort of knew, I can take out his Nexus. And he did. And from there, it was the downfall of Mana. Having that control and having the understanding of, I don't have to 1A all my forces in one place. I can comfortably split them, get the surround, attack from both sides, have a great flank. Those Zerglings went in and got those Stalkers. It showed the kind of mindset that Sortof has, and he is on the rampage. The rampage. I actually look forward to seeing the person that beat him in the Open, Quantic Golden, to see how well he's going to do in his matches as well. These two players are to be reckoned with.
Definitely so.
I couldn't agree more, Clutch. And that's a great way to wrap up everything.
Yeah.
Do you have any final thoughts, Andre?
I was going to say, on one last note about Mana's play, I know a lot of people would be like, well, what is Mana doing? I think Mana is currently in the mindset where he wants to play so standard that he defends against all potential all-ins. He sees his opponent's range. He says, well, you could be doing Infestors, you could be Roaches, Zerglings, Baneling drops. There's so many things I have to prepare for. And he gets this composition that deals with everything. But what it actually does is it inhibits his macro play. And he's relying on his great army control that we've seen time and time again to actually get a DreamHack win not be as fruitful. And it seems kind of out of place, but I think Mana needs to not evolve, but change his play a little bit to actually cut some corners, because the best Protoss in the world will always cut corners. They'll try to scout for as much as possible and see what are you probable to do 90% of the time, and then make your play a little bit more efficient.
Absolutely true, Andre, and I think it's a great summary to finish off everything. Before we let you go, we also want to remind you the tickets are sale for the NASL Season 4 Finals. Pick it up. Go to nasl.tv/p/s4 Finals to get a $20 discount using the promo code LABYTE. Also, thank you to stamps.com. Hassle-free purchases from your PC. Check it out at nasl.tv/p/stamps for a limited time special offer. When we come back, the daily wrap-up. We'll see how predictions wrapped up. We'll see who is advancing after the first day of WildCards to the playoffs and what might transpire and all the matches for tomorrow. All this and more when we return.